All right, what's up, guys? Wanted to go ahead and put together another 9-hole guide for you guys for the expert division, similar to what I did do. I was going to live stream it, but due to kind of time conflicts, as you can see, I think it's what time is it? Yeah, it's like really early, and I figured, there's not going to be too many people on right now. The main reason that I need to or wanted to basically put this guide together a little bit earlier. Um, if you guys are aware that I have been putting together this help page right here on the Golf Clash Notebook to support a local friend of mine who I not only went to school with, but also ended up teaching together. She's the lead of this band called EBB&NOVA. And they are competing to headline a show in a Baltimore music festival if they get enough votes. Here's the link right here on Golf Clash Notebook, the Facebook group. And you can see the option to vote is right at the top in the poll. Once you select an option, it basically, check marks. Commenting is not necessary. In fact, I'm not kind of doing this for you guys to, make it aware that, I'm not trying to get recognition for you guys to do this. So you don't have to comment in the bottom. But you can see here the voting is very close. That other band, Joint Operation, they've been putting up at least easily 100, 200 votes a day. So you can see when I go to where the votes are, you can actually see where your friends, like what friends voted. So hopefully that you guys are able to vote. It only takes about 5-10 seconds. If you need the link directly, you can Facebook me and ask me in Messenger. I'll give you the link. I can copy and paste it for you. All you'll need to do is just go right on and click to vote. And if you could support EBB&NOVA, we're trying to, hopefully in these last few hours, try to push. The voting's supposed to end sometime this afternoon. So the earlier, the better. If you guys think that you could get 1 or 2 people extra, if you could pass along the info to them as well. I can give you the link to post if you need. Just go ahead and message me. When you click on the voting, you can see your friends, as I mentioned, who have already voted. So if you see somebody who is your friend who you think that you could maybe get to vote, even if it's 1 or 2 people, if a bunch of us can just get 1 or 2 people who haven't voted, we can put together a couple hundred votes. I think at this point they probably need maybe 250 at least minimum votes here from this point forward. They're probably about 50 behind right now, and I suspect that they probably need about another 200 in these last few hours to probably win, because it's been very competitive back and forth for the last 4 or 5 days getting all those votes. So please do that if you have the time to do so. The voting is going to the voting's going to end this afternoon, so there is not a lot of time left to get in on that. So please, if you guys can pass it along, I'd really appreciate it. So thanks for your time, guys. I'm going to just get started here. If you guys have the time to do that, I feel like I kind of inconvenienced a few people. So with that being said, I'm going to come back this weekend, and I'm also going to put together another live stream for you guys, just for your guys' support. I know you guys are great, and you guys have been really helpful. I'm really thankful for what you guys have done already. So thank you. I can't say it enough. And let's just get underway here and be on the lookout for, sometime tomorrow. Today's Friday, right? Yeah. So sometime tomorrow, I'm going to jump on and I'll do another live stream for you guys. So be on the lookout for that. This one I'm just going to record. It's basically because the time-based. It just doesn't make any sense to go live this early, I feel. I just don't think the participation is going to be there. So I'm just going to put this together as a recording. Other than that, once we go live tomorrow, I'll do it at a more suitable time, probably sometime in the afternoon, Eastern Standard Time, and which will be just a little bit easier for everybody to make. So let's get started here. I've been doing about a POC 6 spin here, about 6 bars, 6, 7 bars. And just a little bit of overpower. Other than that, I pretty much just use the max ring adjustment. So you can see that's, for me, that's going to be about 6 rings. Very little overpower. So you can see not really doing much because I want to kind of avoid it going into the rough. So I've been trying to just kind of just barely power it up. And I'm also trying to keep off that top spin too, to keep it from having the momentum to run down into that bunker. Or not into the, I haven't been to the bunker, but I have got it to where I think it can get into the rough. And I've seen my opponents do it. And as you can see, I do it a little bit more controlled. So I don't have to, you might even see a couple guys trying to hook this. I tried to stay away from that because you have a little bit more ball control when you do it like the way that I just did. So that's the biggest tip that I can recommend for you guys. So let's take a look at my opponent. I would imagine, you'll want to, if you have a POC 4, you'll have to go a little bit more power. I wouldn't go too many rings. This looks maybe okay. Could probably benefit from a great ball to the right. So opponent yelling 4, but I'm yelling probably better than your perfect ball. It's better to be safe and keep it away from that left rough. I have yet to see anybody go too far right. You'd probably, be more prone to run out of fairway than that. So here you can see I'm very close to the min line, which I've been playing close to maybe 3.5 per ring. So with that being said, I'm thinking 2.5, 3, under 3 rings here. So you can see with where I am, 2.5 rings. And right into the cup there for eagle. So I'll be going for dunk here. I'll be going for dunk 6. It's my preferred method at min club. You'll see, where the min line was right around here. Typically when we're looking at dunking, so each green grid's about a yard. Well, it's actually exactly a yard. So here you can see the pin's about 4 yards on. The fairway is probably about 6 or 7 yards. So we're looking at kind of 11 yards. I try to, only dunk up to maybe, 12, 15 yards tops from the min line. So I don't usually go for dunks outside that. So if you were to count, green grids and say, well, am I within 15 yards kind of the min line? That's pretty much where my dunk turns into either a backspin Thor, which I'd use for this, or one of the more front spin type roll-in shots that you see me do as well. Anything beyond that distance is typically the point of conversion for me. So do keep that in mind, but also keep in mind, that's the reason that I dunk, is because I actually find it, especially in side winds. You'll see that I do it a lot in side winds because it's easier than playing wind effect. Wind effect is brutal to play. Even for tournaments, it's very challenging. Oftentimes those slight differences in 3 yards, for example, is going to make all the difference in the wind effect. So what I've been doing on this one, we're going to go arrow ball, we're going to go guardian. And I've just been trying to perfect this guardian shot. So that's what I'm going to do on this hole. All right. So let's take a look here. See the Guardian. I've been using almost 2 backspin, just a little bit short. And you can see with where my initial setup is, kind of about 1 grid of offset. And 5 here, I'm going to go pretty close to 6 rings on a 5 wind, which is a pretty big overplay. Guardian typically is, so you can see just a shade more than 6 rings here. Guardian is typically 1.2 per ring, so it's not even 1.0 per ring. So with that being said, you'll need to kind of gracefully overplay this because of the downhill slope. But you can see very close there. Gave it a very good attempt. And, I've been refining this one very well. So you can see my method that I use there. And very good opportunity to put that in if you guys can perfect that method there. It's very close. You can see it's essentially like a plus 25% and using the 1 per ring on top of that, plus my ball guide offset. So make sure that you're factoring in all that. With my ball guide offset, I'm using about a grid, maybe just a hair more than a grid is what I expect from that one. A grid and a half from the wind effect. With a 5-6 wind, I would expect about a grid and a half. And then on top of that, I'm using about, plus 20% on top of just using 1 per ring, which is already an overplay. It's about a 15% overplay. So all in all, we're looking at about plus 35% for that elevation drop there. Now, just to kind of speed this round up and to get this posted faster, because of what I mentioned about the voting process there, I'm just going to forfeit all shootouts for this first 9. Try to get this up as fast as possible for you guys, so you guys can hopefully, try to pass along that word if you can. So if, even if you voted, but you think that you have a few friends that you might be able to get in on the action if you can just pass along the info. And again, as I mentioned, you can hit me up on Facebook. My Facebook is facebook.com/ZJones1984, like Zach Jones, but Z Jones 1984, and that's how you can directly find me, even if without searching for me. You can just throw it in the search bar, and if you use my slash account, you can find me instantly at ZJones1984. So here we're setting up for 3, which I've just been doing with Kingmakers, and we're going to pretty much not change a thing with our method on this. The only thing I may change from the other guide that you guys saw me do is on hole, what's that hole? Hole 6, I may go up to a better ball for hole 6. That's the only change that I'm thinking of making. So for the early rounds, and what I typically do on an opener, just so you know, on holes that I'm kind of split, so like hole 6, for example, typically I'll do 1 Kingmaker, 1 Win 5, and see how the shot plays out so I can figure out, which is more plausible. If I've been having a lot of success with the Kingmakers, then I just stick with the Kingmakers. If I've been a little shaky with the Kingmakers, then I'll try to do the Bandera. With that being said, though, I have yet to hit a Bandera, so it might take a little bit of practice. So, I'm going to start with it on the front, and if I need that adjustment for the back, then that's the way that I'll play the back, is I'll try to just make minor tweaks and try to get that much more dialed if need be. Otherwise, I'll do the 1-in-1. So here you can see I'm using close to max again, 7 rings, plus the curl. You can see how little curl I'm using. I don't want to get too heavy on the curl because you can over curl it and wind up in that left rough. So trying to avoid that. You can also see that I'm relatively conservative, trying to stay away from that water edge. I don't want any part of that rough. It's the only, you actually can get a little bit aggressive. Even if you do go in the rough, you can still get it to the green. So with that being said, I don't have to be as conservative as I am. However, I do find this to be a very good opportunity. So if you want to throw that opportunity out, maybe not the best idea, because I don't find this shot right here that difficult. It does have a high degree of difficulty because there's a lot of undulation on the fairway. Plus, you also have a side wind, which is very hard to play from case-to-case basis. Any side winds, it's very hard to get consistent wind effect out of a play. So what I've been doing is definitely left spin. What it does is it puts kind of a good angle on the fairway and lets you land very centered and just try to perfect your ball guide offset more than anything. So you can see with what I'm doing with my aim there, trying to play that ball guide offset at least 1 grid, maybe a grid and a half. Other than that, very close to the max ring adjustment. Thinking of going somewhere in the neighborhood of 7 rings, 7.1, just for simplicity. And again, as I was mentioning how holeable it is, sure enough, there it is. So a very good opportunity, and that's one of the main reasons that I'm not getting overly aggressive there. Ooh, and got a platinum on top of it. So that is good timing because those only come every 50 to 100 chests. So to see that fill up there is going to be good because I didn't know, I probably wasn't going to gem accounts. So if that was filled, I would have missed it. So do keep that tip in mind, is you do end up missing things. So for instance, if the game decides your platinum was supposed to come and you don't have a spot, you don't get it. So you'll miss it for that 100 games or 100 games. So in case you didn't know that, that is very much the truth. Now, I did have somebody mention something to me here. Just in case you have a Thor 6 or a Thor 5 and your accuracy is different than mine, I want you guys to know that the most you can adjust on a Wind 5 ball is the min line. So that's the nice thing. The highest the wind can be is 6.3 miles per hour. If it is 6.3 miles per hour, it's the min line. So you never have to club down here. So I just want to make you guys well aware here that, you'll never need to do that, which is nice. And you should be able to get away with, kind of a max Thorish 5 spin or so. And you can see with what I'm doing with my alignment. Other than that, you'll just need to be very perfect with your rings. And 5.6 here for me. Just going to be just outside this bunker. And just make sure that you're not adding any overpower. That's the biggest mistake that you could make, is to not be perfect there. So here you can see it comes in. Very good opportunity. If you can just run it into the pole, run it over the edge, very good chance to be able to get that hole out. So do keep in mind with the Thor 6, the Thor 5, they're going to have different accuracy than mine. You just need to focus on getting it to that point. Keep in mind that you're never going to have to go beyond the min line. So if you are to say, oh, the min line is just 6.3, for example, well, then even if you don't want to use kind of weird wind calculations, you can just say, oh, well, it's not it's not 6.3, it's a little bit less, so I'm just going to adjust half a ring less. I'm going to adjust just a little bit less than that, or you're going to adjust where I just did, just outside the bunker. You know, those are the type of things that you could just kind of rehearse and kind of shot copy, that you don't need to be using ring adjustments for. So two different things here. You know, people kind of mentioned dunks. You can see how much of this bullseye is in, and I just want to kind of go over this. You always want to make sure that you're putting this dead center when you go for the dunks. So if your ball circle there is not in the center, that's the only way that you're ever going to miss dunks. You can see even with the great ball, I still hit the pin. That's how much room for error that you have on those things. The only critical nature that you have on those shots is to keep it in the center of the circle. So you'll see those dunks are very easy. Even when it gets up to 13 miles per hour, I'm only playing the edge of the cup there, for instance. So very little wind effect ever needs played. When you're in there tight, 10 yards or closer. So with that in mind, the dunk is a very good, useful tool. It takes away any negative hop that could ever happen, which ends up helping. So here we go. Just going to forfeit this out. And we're going to move on to the next hole here. Hole 5. Now, you guys saw how I did it last time. I'm going to do it very similarly. It's kind of the safest way to go. If you have the win 4 balls to do this, that's the shot that I recommend. You could also, in theory, do it with a berserker. The only problem with that approach is having to play the extra wind effect. Could be a little bit challenging. But you guys have seen what I've been basically doing, which is a Pock 5 spin, 5.5 bars. And other than that, I've been playing very close to the max ring adjustment. So in this situation, maybe I'll even go just a tiny bit more. 7 rings, just to be on the safe side. Make sure that you're not adding any overpower. Distance really isn't going to be an issue, especially if you go power 4 ball. So the worst thing that you can do is roll this into the rough. So you want to avoid that at all costs. So it's almost better to overpull it than not to. Because where I am here, which is not aggressive on the edge really at all, we're still going to be well within range. We probably don't even need overpower there. So why not hang back a few extra yards? So just keep that in mind. A slight overpull there is, a good thing. But I also do want to point out that I probably wasn't overpulling much of anything. We have an angled wind. We have the notebook tool. You can see that my max line tells me that it's going to be essentially 1 per ring anyway, because of the overplay, because of the tailwind, which makes it a stronger wind. So even with the notebook, you can see, it's going to basically tell you about 1 per ring anyway, which is more or less kind of what I'm doing. And as I mentioned, relatively straightforward. I may just kind of pull at just a slight angle here, just minimally slight angle. But other than that, I've just been using the min-max adjustment here, 7.9-ish rings. And as I mentioned, you can see that I'm just slightly pulling at an angle. So I'm pulling up to kind of give it just a little bit more distance. And I did catch a great ball. Shouldn't affect me, because I do have a lot of top spin, and I'm kind of playing it relatively safe. So all I need to do is get it up to the fringe there. And you can see with that method, it's just very simple to do. Of course, you can lay back with Titans or Kingmakers and still be able to do the shot. May just require just a little bit more finesse and, just being very careful. So you can see what my opponent's doing up towards the max over P line and not going to add overpower. So I do expect this to be just a tiny bit short. Just a tiny bit short here. So it does make your pitch a little bit tougher. If you did it, don't whine. So, you do want to just be a little bit cautious of that. You could see kind of where I'm lined up. Also keep in mind that I have more topspin than a sniper does. That's one of the biggest reasons to bring this club, is because of the extra topspin. So that's what you'll want to do. And that's why I'm using a power 4 ball to extend that extra range. I thought my opponent was going to go over power, and then he didn't. So I was a little surprised to see that. However, still a really good opportunity here. It's just a little bit tougher at this distance. Wind effect starts to come into play significantly once you get to this distance. So I wouldn't play the fairway. This would not be my option. I would put it right on the front of the green. And, it will cause you to have to play a little bit of extra wind effect. However, you'll keep the bounces away from the fringe and, basically screwing you essentially. So if you hit that fringe in kind of, you can actually see that misses by almost a yard. So that's one of the biggest reasons that I don't like to play into the fairway, is because it can be quite deceptive. It didn't look like my opponent played enough wind, but I mean, that was significantly missed. I mean, it wasn't like it just slipped out or anything. It seemed like it missed by at least maybe 0.6, 0.7 of a yard. So here we are, hole 6. If you guys watch my guide from last time, you'll see that I used a Kingmaker ball. So this time around, I'm going to use a Bandera ball. So what the Bandera ball is going to do is it's going to kind of change things up for me a little bit. So I won't have the same distance line. So let's just say, so I used to be using the max line, which is plus 16. Now I'm only going to be able to get out to about plus 7, I believe. I believe it's plus 7. Does that sound right? No, it's more than that. It's plus 9. No, it's plus 11. So I should be able to get out to plus 11. Or 12. So with that being said, it's going to be about 4 yards difference, 4.5 yards difference. So what that's going to do is it's going to change my wind play. Also, my wind's going to be down significantly. So what I'm probably going to do is just not pull from the max line. And we'll just see how that plays. Because what I've been doing is I've been playing the rings, which is about 6 rings. It usually changes about 20 yards. At least 15 yards. I usually end up pulling in back all the overpower. I didn't dissect it to actually see, but I bet all the plus yardage goes away. And I've probably essentially pulled away the entire shot. Also, I'm going to be missing some of my curl as well. I'm also not going to get that extra wind effect pushing the ball down either. So what I'm going to try to do here at plus 7, just a tiny bit of top spin here. A little bit more than a POC 5 here. And you can see that I'm going to start to get just a little bit tighter, a little bit closer. I'm only about 4 rings from the rough, 4.5 rings. Same curl. I'm not going to play the rings now. And, this is my first try doing this. So we'll have to just see how it plays out. So far, so good. Yeah, that's perfect. So, I kind of had some intuition on that, telling me that it kind of made sense. And I forgot I'm using a power 1 ball. So I was thinking power 2 ball. So with power 1, it's only 3%, which is +7. So you'll see that the +7, I just stayed right at that +7 line, and it was perfect. So as I mentioned, we're going to go for the dunk here again. What it's going to end up doing is it's going to kind of, make sure that I'm within thorn range, and right about 4 per ring should pretty much be on the number here. So just fractionally more than 1 here. So what this lets me do is it makes the wind adjustment smaller, and it makes my margin of error less as well. So you can see with where I'm putting it right here, just outside of a ring. Other than that, just make sure that you're very centered here. Perfect ball. And right into the cup for eagle. So sure enough, well on my way, much better round than last time. So, hopefully you guys find this content useful. As I mentioned, about my friend, if you guys can reach out to them and get that voting going. If you haven't done, there's only a couple hours left, about 4 hours, or no, about 6 to 8 hours only. So if you guys have not voted, can you please go on there and do so? And if you could pass it along, if you can, check out the beginning of this video, and I kind of showed you kind of how to do that, I'd really appreciate it. So thank you guys for your time. I'm going to keep plugging away here, see if I can't get 1 or 2 more shots to drop and really put up a number in this on this opener side. So what I like to do on this one is the QB with the Kingmaker. I actually like having that extra wind resistance in the face. It makes it just a tiny bit easier for me. So that's why I'm not switching down to, I don't think switching to a Bandera with less side spin, for example, or wind effect is really all that helpful. It almost kind of makes you have to aim a little bit too tight on the sand. So what I'd rather have is that extra wind resistance so I can land it up a little bit longer. And the extra wind resistance in the face is going to get it to cut harder to the right, and it's going to get it to check up a little bit. So the fact that I can stay away from the bunker is appealing to me. So with that being said, that's the reason that I, don't recommend that you guys ball up here. So we are going to have a very strong wind on this example as well. It's going to be much closer to 9 miles per hour, which means it's pushing about 14, which is the max wind that you can get in the expert division. So I use max, I use 5 on the side spin. Other than that, I've been playing, at least 3 or 4 rings. So I'm going to essentially say 4 rings from the bunker this time, just because the wind's a little bit higher. So you can see, use this positioning as kind of your guide as to what to kind of replicate. So you can see I'm 4 rings from the sand, and we're going to go for maybe 8.8 rings here. I've been going just a little bit under whatever the wind is. Perfect ball. And did hit that fairway. I don't expect that's going to make it all the way over there. I'm trying to go for it to hit that fringe kind of into the second bounce, and you can see it hit the fairway, so I figured it was going to be a bit outside. So just got to get that moved in. When you land just a little bit more forward away from the bunker, what I've been seeing that it does is it kind of goes a little bit straighter. So you can see that that ball doesn't bounce as hard to the right. So because of that fact, I might have to move in my line just slightly to get that adjustment perfect. But these are the type of things that you just want to be honing in on come weekend. So every approach that I do is just slightly different, modified, but it's a well thought out process. Okay, so I'm not just going up and just saying, oh, I'm going to just kind of wing this shot, or I don't know where I'm going to set up. I know precisely where I'm going to set up. So this is part of that memorization that you guys need to do. So when I post videos for you guys, use things like the bunker as markers to tell you where to start your aim. That's very important. It's very critical. Also pay attention to things like what wind angle am I pulling rings at? Because it's not always dead straight. Sometimes I offset it, 1 or 2 degrees. And that's also an important thing for you guys to be paying close attention to. Because all that, if I pull at a 1 angle difference than what you pull at, you're never going to replicate my shot. So you have to be very exacting. So I just wanted to, be very specific for that for you guys. And, that's the big key is just, trying to gradually get better each and every time you play a hole. Never do the same mistake twice. So 2 more holes to go. If you guys didn't hear already, I did mention I am going to do a live stream for you guys. I'll do 9 more holes for you guys sometime tomorrow, whenever it's convenient. Kind of at a marquee time that kind of more people can tune in. And that's basically for you guys kind of bearing with me this week while I support my friend's local band. But I appreciate you guys showing up and all the support that you've given thus far. The voting does end soon. So if you guys do have the opportunity and haven't, if you could please vote for the EBB&NOVA on the poll in the Golf Flash Notebook, or you can PM me directly if you want me to give you the link, or if you have, if you want to pass it along to other people, I can give you the link for you to pass along to other people as well. So do just kind of message me if you can. So here I'm going to go very close to the max ring adjustment. Been going pretty close to full. Might just come in just a tiny bit from max. Here you can see perfect ball. Let's see if I can get this angle and keep this in the fairway. So far so good. So far so good. Hold up. Oh, that was so close. So you got to just be a little bit more careful with your top spin. So I'm going to just start to back off on that a little bit, because that was the closest. I'd been in the fairway. I didn't expect that one to roll off. But now that I can actually see how easily it rolls off, I'm just going to start to back off just a little bit more. The only time that I put it in the fairway, I made it. So it's very disappointing to see myself roll down time and time again. But if you guys remember from my last stream, I was also in a very similar spot to this. I told you an adjustment that I did. I think I used maybe 2 per ring, and I believe it was an overpull. I mentioned in the stream I'm going to try something more like 2.5 per ring next time. It's going to get me that much more dialed in. These are the types of things that you need to be thinking about. So, I'm instead of doing the distance thing, I'm just going to use my intuition, because I've been in this spot. I was almost exactly in the same spot. I might even be just a fractionally closer than last time, but it's essentially the same shot. And this time I'm only going to go 3 rings, pretty much spot on 3 rings. Not even going to touch my spin, just to make it easy. And you can see that I'm just kind of keeping the ball guide offset and through the hole, because the wind effect is going to push it to the right. So you can see with what I'm doing, I'm going to pull here right around 3 rings, 2.5 per ring. And let's just see how this works out. Perfect ball. Giving it a shot. And just too much. So, but these are the type of things that you can start to pay attention. So next time, maybe I go 2.6 per ring from there. So 3 rings was still just a little bit too much. Keep in mind, you still need that wind effect. You won't be able to point at the hole. I mean, technically you can point at the hole. The only thing that's going to change is you'd probably have to do an overplay kind of intentionally. So you'd have to go more than 3 rings in that situation. But what I needed to do is maybe about 2.8 rings. And you can see that I was almost able to make it even from being in the rough. And hopefully come weekend round, if for some reason that I still do roll into that rough, I'm getting that much focused to the dialed in adjustment. But I need to get back into the fairway, so hopefully I can do that on the back, because I need to start being able to give myself a really good opportunity to make this one. And the only time that I was in the fairway, I did make it with the B52. So I kind of already have the adjustment in my head as to what I need to do. And, that kind of just goes to my next point, which is if you are prepared to go to a hole, make sure you know all the things you're going to do. I have all the situations played out in my head already to where I know if I'm in the fairway, I'm going to do this. If I'm in the rough, I'm going to use this adjustment. If I'm in the bunker, I'm going to use this adjustment. So I kind of, as I get into these, I kind of have those 3 cases on the forefront of my mind. You can write these down if you have to. I do them all from memory. I'm pretty good with numbers. So I just remember useless stuff. Well, it's actually useful for the game, but in terms of life skills, it's entirely useless to have this skill. So let's see if I can get hole number 9 here. Finish with a bang. Of course, I'm going to try to perfect this shot. Hopefully we get a large wind. That's what I've been shooting for, is large winds. So if we can get a large wind, we can land on the fairway. And I've also figured out that you can't use any topspin with large. If you hit that fairway, that's a large wind, relatively speaking. This is almost towards the max. So we're really happy to see this. It's really going to, well, as long as I still get something in the 13s as well, because what I'm trying to do is land on that fairway. I think it gives me the potential to potentially be putting. So let's see how my opponent can do this. Perfect ball. Let's see about their aim. Looks good so far. A little aggressive. As you can see, their perfect ball almost rolls into the rough, but just does hold up. So that should easily, well, not easily, but you'll be able to get to the green from there. Ooh, actually got just a little bit lower, 12.3. That's going to be a tough one. Not sure if that's going to be enough. You can see it's not very angled either, but I'm going to play for it like it's going to. So what I'm going to do is just use no spin. I do expect it to land. If it does creep onto the fairway, it's going to barely creep on. If I can get it up even farther, I may use as much as 1 backspin. But since this one's going to be close, I'm not going to utilize that backspin. And I'm going to curl it a little bit harder because I can see that the wind's very straight. It almost has no left degree to it at all. So with that being the case, I'm going to go extra on my curl because I feel like it's going to need extra to get over towards the fairway. And sure enough, there I did hit it. It looks like I didn't use enough right spin. So may just want to go max there, but you can see how close I'm going to be on this pitch. Relatively favorable. It looks like I used just a little bit too much curl too, because you can see I kind of landed over here on the fairway where you want to kind of land on the right edge. But as you can see, probably my new method is just going to be always just full right it. just in case you do land on that left half of that fairway, it'll be able to bring it back into that fairway. So very good opportunity here. The only thing is with the side wind, this is almost harder than the straight wind was going to be. So my positioning here is not the best. So I'm going to do a distance trick, which is cut this in half. This is going to be roughly about 7 per ring. Up towards the fringe, I'm thinking maybe 14, maybe plus up a hill. So a little bit less than 1 ring is what I'm going to go here. And I am going to still put it on the green. I think it's a little bit safer to do. So you'll see that I use the green, as I mentioned, less than a ring. So right around here. So if you want to visually see what that looks like, there it is. Perfect ball. And just fractionally underplayed. And again, you know, that's just kind of the complications with dealing with side winds. They're very, very tricky. There's almost no margin of error. And you can see that I'm so disappointed. Perfect ball on 8, perfect ball on 9. Gave myself 2 chances for good hole outs and just come up a bit short. I could have had both of those. Anytime you get your perfect, you almost get a little giddy inside because I almost expect that to go in. I know at the very least, it's burning the edge. It's going to be very close, within a 1/10 of a ring. So, I was about 1/10 of a ring light there on my adjustment. Almost 1 full ring there would have probably been it. So good luck with your rounds, guys. If you do get the chance, please do either pass along the info for this. This is in Golf Clash Notebook. It's for my friend's band, EBB&NOVA. And if you can go to this poll and just vote, you can see how close it is. When you click on the votes, you can actually see your friends here. And as I mentioned, if somebody that on your friends list hasn't voted yet, if you could please just forward along this link, which is in here. If you need it's right here. The link is right here that you can copy and paste, just by holding down on it or clicking on it. So if you could just copy that, send it to somebody who may not have voted, try to get, if everybody can just get 1 or 2 people who haven't voted, that's probably going to be enough. As you can see, it's a very tight race. So it'd be really awesome for them to be able to, perform at that music festival. So thanks, guys, for, your participation and support. Hopefully you guys found this guide very enjoyable to watch. Good luck with your opener rounds, and be on the lookout for that live performance that I'll probably do sometime on Saturday for you guys at kind of more of a peak time. So good luck with your rounds, guys, and see you guys on the weekend.